no buyer's remorse. They have kind of a plot line, per se. I held back the tears so that I could keep reading. I'm so sorry about that pun. The scene got me so bad. I'm not okay. Hi guys, welcome back to another Rants video. Yeah. I told you I'd binge it in a weekend. I read this thing in 2 days. And I have no buyer's remorse. It was great. I'm so glad that I got it. Also, we're gonna talk about the book, and also, because I own it, I rewatched it, the movie. We're gonna compare, we're gonna just review them in general. It's gonna be great. Fun times. Okay, starting out, the movie is just about shot for shot of the book. It's so great. Things up until the end gets a little bit combined and switched around, whatever. But up until that point, the movie is pretty much just the book playing out on screen, which is wonderful. It's what I want for pretty much any adaptation of a book or series or whatever. It made me very, very happy. I was, only like little changes for things that were happening, like how characters got introduced or whatever. But otherwise it was like exactly the same. And it was really, really fun. It's really, really fun with the movie and whatever else to see like all these things they talk about in the book or whatever else, get a visual side of it, like seeing how like their imagination comes to life in Terebithia. It's a very fun concept of it. Another fun thing, probably the biggest change that they make is they add kind of a quest happening while they're in Terebithia. They have like the Dark Master, and they have kind of a plot line, per se, to what's happening when they go to Terebithia, which is also like, it's a good change, I think. It's a fun change to have, that it's not just, yes, this is our place to go and it's this fantasy world, but it's also, there's this quest we need to go on and we need to defeat this villain, and there are all these creatures, and they're using these creatures and whatever else that they have to represent the problems that they're facing in real life, which, you know, they're using that and they're building up their courage and whatever else, and then they can face those things happening in reality. So that's a really fun change that they had. It is probably the biggest one that they had. And then at the end, they kind of combined some scenes. It's pretty much up until Leslie dies, it's the same. And then he finds out, and then some of the scenes that happen after that get combined, or the thing changed a little bit. One scene, it happens, but like at a different point. So it hits me so hard. Like, guys, I near cried when I read the book, multiple times when I was reading the book, because I was just binging the last couple chapters where he's dealing with the grief of her being gone. And so I held back the tears so that I could keep reading, because if I started crying, I wouldn't be able to read. But I was very, very close to crying. Like, there were tears, but I did not let them come out because I needed to be able to see the page so I could keep reading. And I didn't cry during the movie because I have seen the movie before, so I'm very much prepared for how things play out. I was also sitting on the couch upstairs with my parents in the room. I tend not to be as emotional while watching or reading things when there are other people around, so I didn't cry during the movie. But it gets me. The scene that gets me, like, every time, especially when I was reading the book. So the whole thing is like, yeah, I'm a runner. I want to be the fastest kid in the 6th grade, whatever. And then that's how it kind of gets introduced to Leslie, is she's just super fast. And so the running, haha, pun intended. I'm so sorry. The running theme throughout the entire story is he likes to run. I'm so sorry about that pun. It was not intentional, I promise. But anyway, so in the book, when he first gets told Leslie's dead, In the movie, he was like gonna run over to her house, like, no, she's not dead, you're lying, and sees a police car in the driveway. In the book, he's just like, no, you're lying, and but he doesn't like run to go check, he just runs. And he gets a ways down the road to the point where his dad has to drive the truck after him and cut him off, which would have been, I think, an incredible way it would have been an incredible scene to show, because he gets cut off by the truck, his dad jumps out and just like picks him up like a baby and is cradling him in his arms and trying to comfort him. And it's so great that the scene got me so bad. Like, one of the chapter, whatever chapter is it, like the 10th chapter, the 12th chapter? It is the 10th chapter. Ends with his sister saying, your girlfriend's dead. And then he's like, nope, you're lying, and runs down the road, and his dad cuts him off, and he's just, like, there's illustrations, he's just cradling him in his arms, and that is where the tears almost started, and that is when it got to, like, guys, I'm not okay. I'm not okay after this. I meant to record this video like 2 weeks ago when on the weekend that I actually finished it, but I didn't, because I got sidetracked by the other videos I had to make, and the other rants that I ended up prioritizing over it, and I was not okay. I finished the book, I set it down, I just like walked around for a little bit, sat on the bed. It was like 5 minutes where I was kind of recovering from, it was so good. Like, Catherine Patterson, are you kidding me? It got me in the feels, guys. It got me so hard in the feels. And it's great, because it's like, especially in the movie, not so much either, but especially in the book, it's literally just a story about two like lonely kids finding a friend in each other and just playing an imaginary game. Like, this is what I did as a child. I didn't really have anyone to do it with, but this is what I did as a child. I would wander around the grove next to our house, or walk around the backyard, and I would just basically role play whatever was happening in my imagination. And so it hits me so hard already, just as a story about that, like, just using your imagination and finding the safe place from the world, and finding your best friend, and just, so it's already like the themes of the story are fantastic, and I think they carry them very well into the movie. It just right in the feels, guys, right in the freaking feels. And it's kind of sad now, because as I think about this and all the things I did as a kid, I'm also thinking about what this generation now is. It's with all the electronics and stuff, and hearing stories about people like babysitting and the parents just like, put on the TV, don't turn it off, just let them veg out. And I'm just like, no, get the kids off the couch, read them a story, throw them outside, let them use their imagination. Like, this generation is so sucked into electronics that this amazing thing that God gave us, one of the things I think that sets us apart as people like made in God's image, because that's like, I think the two biggest things that separate us from the rest of creation. We have a soul, and we have an imagination and a mind, and that is something that the rest of creation doesn't have. they have all their they have a brain, they have all the survival instincts, they have all of the things to function, whatever else, but they don't have an imagination. And that is something that we as humans have, like, uniquely were created with. And it's just this amazing thing that has nothing to do with survival, that has nothing to do with our, like, physical well-being. It's something that we have so that we can be creative and so that we can build worlds in our head. Imagination is like the root of my dream job. I want to be an author. I want to write stories. Imagination is literally at the center of that. All of the stories and all of the things and all of the stuff that I would write, it originates from my imagination. And so it is one of my most valuable tools and my most valuable asset. And I love my brain. I love my imagination. It's so important to me. And the fact that this generation is being slowly, like, more and more sucked into the electronics dependence, the dependence on the screen, and, like, with phones and TVs and whatever else, and these, like, young kids getting phones. Sorry to my future children. I don't care what your friends have. I don't care that they have the newest, like, iPhone 26 or whatever. You will not be getting a phone until you are 16 and driving yourself around, and so you're going places where you require a phone. Flip phones probably won't exist at that point, so otherwise I would give them a flip phone. That is how I started. Like, I can drive, cool. If I'm going, the first few months of me having my, like, when I had a permit, and I could go places and my parents weren't with me at the event, I had a flip phone in case of emergency. And then for a couple months after I got my license, flip phone. And I'd text him, you know, when I got places when I was coming back, and I didn't get a phone, like a phone, until I had got my license, been driving for a little bit, and you know, I could buy it with my own money. So my children will not be getting a phone or any kind of electronic of their own until they are 16 and they can buy it for themselves. Sorry, guys. You might hate me for it, but it's going to be fantastic for you, because we don't need to build that dependence when they're so young. Like, I work at a daycare. I work with the toddlers. They are not allowed to have any screen time while they are at the center. I am not allowed to show them a YouTube video to calm them down. I am not allowed to just, like, here, look at this while I get this thing set up, whatever. I'm not allowed to do that, because it is not developmentally appropriate for them to be watching a screen for very long periods of time, if any, at that stage of their life. The only kids in the center that are allowed to have any kind of screen time is the 4 through 6 year olds. And even then they only get like 5-10 minutes because they have videos involved in their curriculum. And so then they're allowed to watch those, and that's it. Nobody else in the center is allowed to have any kind of screen time, and they have to use their imagination, work with the toys, work with whatever. We have to come up with ways that we can entertain them, which is great for our brains and our imagination as well, because we have to get creative with that. And I appreciate it so much. Like, we're not allowed to have our phones in the room either, which is common sense. Like, centers where that is allowed, no thank you. I'm not sending my child there. Like, even at B&G, I worked at an ice cream place. I wasn't allowed to have my phone there either, because my job is to be there, be present, do my job, interact with customers, whatever, which I appreciate so much. Even if I had a job where I was allowed to have my phone, I probably wouldn't be using it, and I wouldn't want to be on it, and I would find a place to put it while I was at work, because I don't need that on me. I don't need that distraction. And it's the reason I am okay with just, like, setting my phone aside when I have to or when I feel like I just need to. The only reason I can do that is because I grew up not being dependent on that and and having that screen constantly accessible. And when I was upset throwing a tantrum, my parents not going, here, have an iPhone, watch a YouTube video, stop screaming. The fact that I had to entertain myself and had to figure life out without just, here, have a screen and be pacified. It's a value that we're quickly losing. Like, I babysit sometimes. They don't look at a screen. We don't do that. I don't turn the TV on. I did once to watch one like little 10-minute episode of something right before they went to bed. That is the only time I've ever had the TV on in that person's house. Otherwise, we're running around the house. I am chasing them with a plastic dinosaur that's pretending to eat them. That is what I do. I sat with my feet on the couch with my feet on the footrest for like 10 minutes while they just ran around and jumped over my legs. It was so fun. And we're slowly losing that as a society. And it's so sad that we're basically turning all our children's brains to mush and taking away that creativity by not allowing them to use it and exercise that skill. I just, yeah. It's turned into a rant about how bad society is. Again. Every time I feel like I get into a rant about society, every flippin' time. I'm gonna cut a bunch of this out because I feel very awkward talking at a normal volume while they're in the storage room doing the freezer. You'll probably hear all that anyway. We're just Okay, now that was probably just what I needed to like break my rambling. Okay, but yeah, anyway, it's very sad. We need to get off our phones, get off our TV, especially with children around. Let them be creative because creativity is just the best. It's great. It is the core of pretty much every single hobby that I have. And I love creativity and I love my brain and it's my favorite thing. My creativity is my favorite part of me. Yeah, this is only a very short video because there's not a whole lot of like story happening. It's a very simple story and it's just got the simple themes of friendship and imagination and it's great. And as cheesy as the like CGI, VFX and whatever are in this, it's very good and I love it. And it's got kind of its own style where it's almost supposed to be more cheesy looking. I don't know. But it's so good. And Josh Hutchinson's is great. And I just... it's so good. I love it so much. And like there are lines that are word for word. It's so great. Some of the best lines in there are word for word. It's so good. And the book is so good. I think the grief scenes, it's almost, I don't know if it's like, it's not exactly drawn out more in the book. Maybe a little bit, I don't know. I almost like how they do the grief scenes a little bit more in this one because it feels like there's more to it. I don't know, but it's still great in both of them, and it's sad. It's so depressing. As fun, it's such a fun, lighthearted story. I'm like, oh, this is so great. They're best friends. They have this magical land that they go to escape their problems with school and whatever else. And then it gets depressing so fast. You're like, oh, it's such a fun story. It's such a good story. And then she's dead, and you're like, what? And all of a sudden, it is a very different story. But it's so perfect because that's how it works in life anyway. We don't always get the slow death that we get to prepare for. Sometimes it's just so sudden, and we don't even get time to process that it's happened. Because that's another amazing detail, is he gets told, he freaks out about it initially, and then he goes to bed, and he's like in such denial and in so much shock that he just about straight up forgets it happened the next morning. And he's just like, what's wrong with everyone? Because they're giving him weird looks and they're having special breakfast and whatever else. And they're like, you don't even care? And they're bringing it up again. And he's just like, no. And still in this denial. And it's done so freaking well, guys. And it's so sad. Like, he even goes to Terebithia trying to find Leslie. It makes it, so many feels. So many feels. It's so good, guys. If you're a book person, read the book. If you're a movie person, watch the movie. If you are both, please do both, because they're both great. They're both so good. Because it's probably, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's probably one of the most well done movie adaptations of a book that I've ever seen. It keeps the essence of the story, and some of the important lines and the important scenes are like shot for shot, word for word. And there are slight changes, but they make sense and they're done really well, and they're more subtle changes. It's probably one of the best adaptations I've seen from book to movie. So highly recommend both, or at least one of them. I very much have spoiled it for you now, but yeah, I'm sorry. Go watch, go read, go both. It's such a great story. Yeah, that's all I got for this one. It's a 13 chapter book. It's like what's the runtime on this? It's like a 90-minute movie. So it's really short, but it's so good. So yes, please go watch that. Go break your heart. It will. It really will. But yeah, that's what I got. Post your thoughts on the story. If you have thoughts, please drop those in the comments. Recommendations, whatever. Post videos every Wednesday and Saturday on this channel, and Thursdays on the audiobook channel. And I'll see you all next time.